6 months passed. The story spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. It started in the cantina, with Bolo telling the tale to anyone who would listen. Then it spread to the ships that docked at the station. Then it spread to other stations, other planets, other systems. Within weeks, everyone had heard some version of the story. Within months, it had become legend. The details changed depending on who told it. Some said Taiho had used a fork, not a spoon. Some said he had defeated 10 assassins, not one. Some said he had not even been trying, that he had fought while half asleep or completely drunk. The facts got twisted and exaggerated, the way facts always do when they become stories. But the core of it remained the same. A human had faced the deadliest assassin in the galaxy. A human had won. And the human had done it with nothing but eating utensils. The effects were immediate and far-reaching. On a mining colony in the outer systems, a group of pirates decided not to raid a cargo ship. The reason? The ship had a human crew. Not worth the risk, the pirate captain said. Those people are crazy. On a pleasure planet in the core systems, a crime boss released a human prisoner he had been planning to ransom. I do not want trouble, he told his lieutenants. Humans have friends. Dangerous friends. On a military station near the galactic border, a general changed his battle plans. He had been planning to attack a small human colony. Now he decided to negotiate instead. We have seen the reports, he told his advisors. One human with a spoon can defeat our best assassin. Imagine what a colony of them could do. The humans themselves did not understand what was happening at first. They just noticed that people were treating them differently. Doors opened faster. Prices dropped lower. Threats disappeared. It was strange and wonderful, and a little bit confusing. Then the news networks picked up the story. Humans, the galaxy's most dangerous species? One headline asked, "The Spoon Warrior, hero or threat?" Asked another. "Why aliens are suddenly afraid of Earth?" said a third. Taiho and Yuno watched these reports from their ship. They were hiding in a quiet corner of the galaxy, laying low while the attention died down. It was not dying down. If anything, it was getting worse. "This is your fault," Yuna said. "My fault?" Taiho looked offended. "You are the one who stole the data chip. You are the one who made enemies of a giant corporation. I just protected you. With a spoon. It was effective." "It was ridiculous. It can be both." Yuna sighed and leaned back in her chair. Their ship was small, just enough room for 2 people and some cargo. It was not fancy, but it was home. They had lived on this ship for 3 years, traveling from job to job, adventure to adventure. Now they were famous, and Yuna was not sure how she felt about that. "What do we do now?" she asked. Taiho thought about it. "We could retire. Find a quiet planet, settle down, grow vegetables. You would be bored in a week. Probably. Okay, we could become bodyguards. People would pay a lot of money to have the Spoon Warrior protect them." Yuna laughed. "The Spoon Warrior? Is that what they are calling you?" "One of the names. I've also heard the Utensil Assassin and Fork Fighter and Cutlery Champion. Personally, I like Spoon Warrior best. You are enjoying this." "A little bit." "Yes." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside the window, stars drifted by slowly. The galaxy was big and full of wonders and dangers. There was always another job to do, another adventure to have, another story to live. "I think," Yuna said slowly, "we should keep doing what we have always done. Take jobs, help people, travel the galaxy. And if another assassin comes after you, then you hit them with a spoon." Taiho smiled. "Deal." Far across the galaxy, Vorn sat in a room full of shadows. He had not taken a contract in 6 months. He had not killed anyone. He had just sat in this room, thinking about that night in the cantina. He had told the story to many people. Other assassins, warriors, criminals. He had warned them about humans. He had described what had happened in perfect detail. And every single one of them had laughed at him. A spoon? They said, "You were beaten by a spoon?" They did not believe him. They thought he was joking, or lying, or going crazy. The great Vorn, beaten by a human with eating utensils? Impossible, ridiculous, a joke. But Vorn knew the truth. He had felt that spoon hit his wrist. He had felt his hand go numb. He had felt fear, real fear, for the first time in decades. It was not a joke. It was not ridiculous. It was the most serious thing that had ever happened to him. And now he had to decide what to do about it. He could try again. Find Taiho and Yuna. Fight the human once more. Maybe this time he would win. Maybe this time he would prove that he was still the best. Or he could do something different. Vorn stood up and walked to a window. Outside, a city spread across the horizon. Millions of beings lived there, going about their lives, never thinking about assassins or humans or spoons. They were just living, just being. Vorn had never just lived. He had been created to kill, and killing was all he knew. But Taiho had shown him something new. The human had fought not because he was paid to, not because he was ordered to, but because he cared about his friend. He had risked his life for love. Love. What a strange word. Vorn had never felt it. He did not even know what it meant, not really. But he wanted to understand it. He wanted to know why it made humans so strong. "I need a new purpose," he said to the empty room. "I need to find something worth fighting for." It was a strange thought for an assassin. But Vorn was not the same assassin he had been 6 months ago. That human with the spoon had changed him. And maybe, just maybe, that change was a good thing. Back on their ship, Taiho and Yuna received a message. It was from a small colony on the edge of known space. They were having trouble with local criminals and needed help. The pay was bad, the danger was high, and the food was probably terrible. "Want to take it?" Taiho asked. "Yes," Yuna said. "Someone needs to help those people. Even if the pay's bad? Even then. That is who we are, Taiho. We help people who need help. It is not about the money." Taiho nodded. She was right. It had never been about the money. It was about doing what was right, standing up for those who could not stand up for themselves. It was about being human. He set the course and started the engines. The stars blurred as they jumped to hyperspace, racing toward another adventure. "By the way," Yuna said, "when we get there, please try not to start another galactic legend. I make no promises. At least use a knife this time. The spoon thing is getting old. Never. The spoon is my signature now. You are impossible. I am human." And that, in the end, was the point. Humans were impossible. They did impossible things for impossible reasons. They fought assassins with spoons. They traveled across the galaxy to help strangers. They loved and laughed and lived in ways that no other species could understand. The galaxy had learned to fear humans, but it was also learning to respect them, to admire them, to wonder at them. They were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest. They were not the most advanced. But they were the most human. And that made all the difference. Taiho leaned back in his pilot chair and smiled. Yuna sat beside him, already planning their next move. Outside, the stars waited for them, full of danger and wonder and stories yet to be told. The Spoon Warrior and his partner flew on into the endless night, ready for whatever came next. After all, they were only human. Bolo did not know what to do. In 30 years of running this cantina, he had never served a drink to someone who had just tried to kill one of his customers. But the assassin was sitting on the floor asking for alcohol, and the human with the spoon was not objecting. So Bolo did what any good bartender would do. He poured a drink. He brought it over slowly, his forearm shaking. He held out the glass to Vorn like it was a bomb that might explode. Vorn took it without looking up. He drank the whole thing in one long swallow. "Another," Vorn said. Bolo looked at Taiho. Taiho nodded. Bolo went back to the bar and poured another drink. This time, he brought the whole bottle. Vorn sat on the floor, his back against an overturned table. His plasma blade was still lying a few feet away, but he made no move to pick it up. His black eyes stared at nothing. He looked like someone who had just watched his whole world fall apart. Taiho walked over to Yuna and took his beer back. He drank what was left in 3 big gulps. Then he pulled up a chair and sat down near Vorn, keeping a safe distance but close enough to talk. "You fight well," Vorn said. He did not look at Taiho. He just kept staring at the wall. "Better than anyone I have ever faced. Thank you. I do not understand it. I have studied combat my entire life. I have trained with the greatest masters in the galaxy. I have weapons that cost more than most starships. And you beat me with a spoon." "I did not beat you," Taiho said. "I just made you stop. It is the same thing." "Not really. If I had wanted to beat you, I would have tried to kill you." "I did not try to kill you. I just wanted you to understand that killing Yuna was not going to be easy, that there would be a cost." Vorn finally looked at him. His black eyes were strange, not angry, not sad, just confused. Deeply, completely confused. "Why? Why go through all of that? Why risk your life? I told you. She is my friend." "Yes, you said that. But I still do not understand. Friendship is just a social connection. It is useful for cooperation and survival. But it should not make you face certain death. Your behavior does not follow logic." Taiho smiled. "That is because humans do not always follow logic." Yuna walked over, carrying her bowl of soup. She sat down on another chair and continued eating. Apparently, having her life threatened had not ruined her appetite. "What Taiho means," she said between bites, "is that humans are emotional creatures. We do things because they feel right, not because they make sense." "That seems like a weakness," Vorn said. "Sometimes it is. Sometimes people do stupid things because of emotions. They start wars, they hurt each other, they destroy what they love." Yuna shrugged. "But sometimes emotions make people do amazing things. They make people brave when they should be scared. They make people strong when they should be weak. They make people fight assassins with spoons." Vorn was quiet. He poured himself another drink from the bottle Bolo had left. He was not getting drunk, his engineered body processed alcohol too quickly for that, but the ritual of drinking seemed to calm him. "Tell me about humans," he said. "Tell me how your species became like this." Taiho and Yuna looked at each other. It was a big question. How do you explain millions of years of evolution and thousands of years of history to someone who knows nothing about your world? "Our planet is called Earth," Taiho began. "It is a small planet in a system with one sun. There is nothing special about it. It is not the biggest planet. It is not the most beautiful. It does not have the best resources. But it is home. Earth is also very dangerous," Yuna added. "We have animals that can kill you with one bite. We have weather that can destroy cities. We have diseases that can spread across the whole world. And most importantly, we have each other." "What do you mean?" Vorn asked. "Humans have been fighting each other since before we had history," Taiho said. "We fought over food. We fought over land. We fought over ideas. We fought because someone looked different, or spoke different, or believed different things. For thousands of years, the biggest danger to any human was another human. Vaughn thought about this. His species had been created in a laboratory, designed for a specific purpose. They did not have a history of tribal warfare or resource competition. They were made to be perfect, and they were made to be alone. This constant fighting, Vaughn said slowly, it shaped you? Yes, it made us paranoid. Always watching for threats. Always ready to fight. It also made us creative. When you fight for thousands of years, you learn to use everything as a weapon. Rocks, sticks, metal, fire. Anything can be deadly in human hands. Including spoons, Yuna said with a smile. Including spoons, Taiho agreed. But the fighting also taught us something else. It taught us the value of cooperation, of loyalty, of friendship. Because when everyone is a potential enemy, the people who stand with you become incredibly important. You protect them, Vaughn said, with everything we have. Vaughn was silent for a long time. He drank his alcohol. He stared at the walls. He thought about his life and his career and all the things he had done. He had killed so many beings. He had taken so many lives. And he had always thought of himself as the ultimate predator, the top of the food chain, unbeatable. But now he had met humans, and he realized that he had been wrong. Your species, Vaughn said, you are more dangerous than anyone realizes. Maybe, Taiho said, but we are also capable of great kindness, great love, great beauty. The same things that make us dangerous also make us wonderful. It just depends on how we use them. How do you decide? When to be dangerous and when to be kind? Taiho thought about the question. It was something he had never really considered before. He just acted on instinct, on feeling, on what seemed right in the moment. I think, he said slowly, it depends on what is in front of us. When we face a threat, we become dangerous. When we face a friend, we become kind. We react to the world around us. We adapt. You adapt, Vaughn repeated. Yes, that is exactly right. You adapt to anything. He stood up suddenly. Taiho tensed, ready for another attack. But Vaughn did not move toward him. Instead, he walked to his plasma blade, picked it up, and attached it to his belt. I will not kill your friend, Vaughn said. Yuna stopped eating. What? I said, I will not kill you. The contract is cancelled. But the Kalari Corporation paid you. They will not be happy. I do not care about their happiness. I care about my reputation. And my reputation depends on being unbeatable. Vaughn looked at Taiho. If I continue this mission, I will have to fight you again. And if I fight you again, there is a chance I will lose. I have never lost. I cannot lose. Therefore, I will not fight. That is very logical, Taiho said. I thought you would appreciate that. Vaughn walked toward the door. But before he left, he stopped and turned around one more time. Human, he said to Taiho. What is your name? Taiho. Taiho, I will remember that name. And I will tell others about tonight. I will tell them about the human who fought me with a spoon. I will tell them that your species is not to be taken lightly. Thank you, Taiho said. I think it is not a compliment. It is a warning to myself and to others. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are dangerous. Humans should be avoided. Vaughn paused. Unless you want to buy them a drink. Then they seem quite friendly. And with that, the galaxy's deadliest assassin walked out of the cantina and disappeared into the station. Bolo finally collapsed behind the bar. Yuna finished her soup, and Taiho ordered another beer. Well, Yuna said, that was interesting. Yes, Taiho agreed. But I think we should leave the station tonight, just in case he changes his mind. Agreed. But first, let me finish my soup. It really is quite good. Taiho laughed and raised his glass. "To spoons," he said. "To spoons," Yuna agreed. And they drank. The cantina was completely silent. Even the old speaker that usually played music had gone quiet, as if it too was shocked by what had just happened. The only sound was the soft hum of the lights above, and the distant rumble of the space station's engines. Vorn stood in the middle of the room, his right hand still open, still empty. He looked at his hand like it belonged to someone else. He moved his fingers slowly, watching them bend and straighten. They were working now, but moments ago, they had failed him. For the first time in his life, his body had betrayed him. The plasma blade lay on the floor 3 feet away. Its blue light had faded when it left his grip, and now it was just a metal handle, dark and silent. Vorn had carried that blade for 20 years. He had killed hundreds of targets with it. It was his most trusted tool, his closest companion. And a human with a spoon had taken it from him. "This is not possible," Vorn said. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "I have trained for 60 years. I have fought the greatest warriors in the galaxy. I have never been disarmed. Never." Taiho stood a few feet away, still holding his spoon. He did not look like a warrior. He did not look like a threat. He looked like a normal human who had wandered into the wrong cantina. But his eyes were calm and steady, and he watched Vorn with the careful attention of someone who knew that the fight was not over. "First time for everything," Taiho said. "How did you know?" "The nerve point on my wrist. How did you know where to strike?" Taiho thought about the question. How did he explain something that came as naturally as breathing? It was like asking how he knew how to walk, or how to speak, or how to catch a ball thrown at his head. He just knew. "Humans have been fighting for a very long time," Taiho said slowly. "Before we had ships, before we had guns, before we had anything, we had our hands on whatever we could pick up. Sticks, rocks, bones. We learned to use everything as a weapon. And we learned where to hit to cause the most damage. But you could not have known my anatomy. I am not human. My body is different from yours. Your body is different, yes, but not that different." Taiho pointed at Vorn's wrist. "You have a joint there. And where there is a joint, there are weak points. Nerves, tendons, soft spots where the bone does not protect. All species with joints have these weak points. It is just a matter of finding them." Vorn was silent. He was thinking, processing, trying to understand. In his long career, he had studied many species. He knew their strengths and weaknesses. He knew where to cut to kill quickly and where to cut to make them suffer. But he had never met someone who could read his body so quickly, so accurately. "You saw my weak point in the middle of combat," Vorn said. "In less than a second, you found it and exploited it. Yes, that should not be possible. No species has reflexes that fast. Humans do." Bolo, the cantina owner, finally found his voice. He had been hiding behind the bar, his forearms wrapped around himself like a shield. Now he peeked over the counter, his blue face pale with fear and wonder. "I have heard stories," Bolo said. His voice was shaky. "Stories about humans. They say you are crazy. They say you fight when you should run. They say you survive things that should kill you." "We are not crazy," Taiho said. "We are just stubborn." "Stubborn?" Vorn repeated the word like it was in a foreign language. "You face me with a spoon because you are stubborn." "Partly. Also because I did not have a fork." Yuna laughed from her seat at the bar. She was still holding Taiho's beer, and she took another sip before setting it down. "He is not joking," she said. "Taiho once fought off 3 pirates with a broken bottle. Another time, he stopped a robbery using only a mop. He has a gift." "It is not a gift," Taiho said. "It is practice. On Earth, I trained in martial arts since I was 5 years old. Taekwondo, judo, hapkido, boxing. I learned how to use my body as a weapon. And I learned how to use any object as an extension of my body. Vorn's black eyes narrowed. He was beginning to understand, but understanding did not make him happy. It made him angry. He was the greatest assassin in the galaxy. He had built his reputation on being unbeatable. And now a human with cooking utensils had made him look like a fool. "This changes nothing," Vorn said. His voice was harder now, colder. "You surprised me once. It will not happen again." "Maybe," Taiho said. "Maybe not." Vorn moved toward his blade on the floor. But Taiho moved too. He stepped between Vorn and the weapon, his spoon raised slightly. It was ridiculous. It was absurd. But somehow, it worked. Vorn stopped. "Let me pick up my blade," Vorn said. "No. I will kill you with my bare hands if I must. You can try." They stood facing each other, 2 feet apart. Vorn was bigger, stronger, more experienced. He had killed hundreds of beings. He had fought in wars that spanned star systems. But something in Taiho's eyes made him hesitate. It was not fear. It was not desperation. It was confidence. Pure, quiet confidence. Yuna watched from the bar. She knew Taiho well enough to recognize that look. It was the look he got when he was completely focused, completely present. When his mind and body became one thing, one weapon. She had seen him in this state before, and every time, the results were extraordinary. "You do not understand what I am," Vorn said. "I am not like other assassins. I was engineered for killing. My bones are stronger than steel. My muscles can generate 3 times the force of your best athletes. My nervous system processes information faster than any natural brain. That is impressive," Taiho said. "You cannot beat me. Not with a spoon. Not with anything. Then, why are you talking instead of attacking?" The question hung in the air. Vorn felt something he had not felt in decades. It was small, just a tiny seed in his chest. But it was there. Doubt. He attacked. This time, he did not use a weapon. He used his hands, his claws, his enhanced body. He threw a punch at Taiho's face, fast enough to break the sound barrier. The air cracked with the force of it. Taiho ducked. The fist passed over his head, missing by inches. Before Vorn could recover, Taiho struck. The spoon hit Vorn's elbow, another joint, another weak point. Pain shot up Vorn's arm. Vorn spun and kicked. Taiho jumped back, barely avoiding the blow. Vorn pressed forward, throwing punch after punch, each one powerful enough to kill. But each one missed. Taiho moved like water, flowing around the attacks, never where Vorn expected him to be. And every time he saw an opening, he struck with his spoon. He hit Vorn's knee. He hit Vorn's shoulder. He hit the back of Vorn's neck. None of the hits were powerful. None of them caused serious damage. But each one hurt. Each one proved that Taiho could touch him whenever he wanted. "Stop moving," Vorn shouted. His calm was breaking. His famous control was slipping away. "No," Taiho said. They fought for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Bolo watched with his mouth open. Yuna watched with pride in her eyes. The few beings who had hidden instead of running watched from dark corners, unable to believe what they were seeing. Finally, Vorn stopped. He was breathing hard. His gray skin was covered in sweat. His body ached from dozens of small impacts. He had not landed a single hit on Taiho, not one. "Enough," Vorn said. The word came out rough, forced. It hurt to say it. Enough. Taiho stopped too. He was breathing hard as well, but he was smiling. "Are you finished?" Vorn looked at him. really looked at him. This small human, this fragile creature from a tiny planet, this man with nothing but a spoon. He had done what no one else had ever done. He had fought the galaxy's deadliest assassin to a standstill. "Who are you?" Vorn asked. Taiho shrugged. "I am just a human," he said. "We are all like this. Some of us are better at fighting. Some are better at other things. But all of us are stubborn. All of us refuse to give up. It is the one thing we do better than anyone else in the galaxy." Vorn was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something that no one expected. He sat down on the floor, right in the middle of the cantina, and he looked at his hands. "I need a drink," he said. Yuna took the beer from Taiho's hand. She did not ask questions. She did not tell him to stop. She had worked with Taiho for 3 years, and she had learned one very important thing. When Taiho got that look in his eyes, there was no point in arguing. He was going to do something stupid. And somehow, it usually worked. Taiho stood up slowly from his stool. He was shorter than Vorn by at least a foot. He was smaller. He had no armor, no weapons, no protection of any kind. He was wearing jeans and a gray shirt and old boots with holes in them. In his right hand, he held a spoon. Just a simple metal spoon, the kind used for eating soup. Vorn looked at him. For the first time, something changed in those black eyes. It was not fear. It was not respect. It was confusion. Pure, total confusion. "What are you doing?" Vorn asked. "I'm standing up," Taiho said. "Why?" "Because you are threatening my friend. And I do not like that." Vorn looked at the spoon in Taiho's hand. He looked at Taiho's face. He looked back at the spoon, his head tilted to the side, like a dog that had heard a strange sound. "You are joking," Vorn said. "This is some kind of human humor that I do not understand." "I am not joking. You are holding a spoon." "Yes, I am holding a plasma blade. It can cut through metal. It can cut through stone. It can cut through anything. I know. And you want to fight me? With a spoon?" Taiho smiled. It was a friendly smile, the kind of smile you might give to a neighbor or a coworker. It was completely wrong for this situation. "I do not want to fight you," he said. "I want you to leave. But if you do not leave, then yes, I will fight you. With this spoon." Behind the bar, Bolo made a small sound. It was something between a laugh and a cry. He had seen many strange things in his 30 years of owning this cantina. He had seen aliens drunk on 17 different kinds of alcohol. He had seen robots fall in love with organic beings. He had seen a man eat an entire table because he lost a bet. But he had never seen anything like this. A human with a spoon, facing the most dangerous assassin in the galaxy. Vorn was quiet for a long moment. The plasma blade hummed in his hand, casting blue light across his gray face. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed out. It was not a nice laugh. It was a cold, cruel sound, like metal scraping against metal. It filled the empty cantina and echoed off the walls. Vorn laughed for a long time, and when he finally stopped, his black eyes were bright with something that might have been amusement. "I have killed many creatures," Vorn said. "I have killed warriors with swords. I have killed soldiers with guns. I have killed monsters with claws and teeth. But I have never killed a fool with a spoon. This will be interesting." "I am glad you think so," Taiho said. "Before I kill you, I want to understand. Why are you doing this? The woman is my target, not you. If you step aside, I will let you live. You can walk out of this cantina and forget this ever happened. Why die for her?" Taiho thought about the question. It was a fair question. He and Yuna were partners, but they were not family. They were not lovers. They had no deep connection, that demanded sacrifice. They were just two people who worked together, who traveled together, who ate soup and drank beer together in dirty cantinas on forgotten space stations. But that was exactly why Taiho could not step aside. 3 years ago, Taiho said, I was alone. I had no ship. I had no money. I had no friends. I was sitting in a cantina much like this one, on a planet much worse than this station. I was thinking about giving up, about finding a quiet corner of the galaxy and waiting to die. Vorn said nothing. He just listened, his blade still humming. Then Yuna walked in. She needed a pilot. I needed a purpose. She did not know me. She had no reason to trust me. But she gave me a chance. She gave me a job. She gave me a reason to keep going. Taiho looked at Yuna, who was still sitting at the bar, holding his beer. She is my friend. And where I come from, you do not let your friends die. Not while you can still breathe. That is very touching, Vorn said. His voice was flat, without emotion. But it is also very stupid. Friendship does not stop plasma blades. Loyalty does not block bullets. You will die here, human. And then I will kill your friend anyway. Your sacrifice will mean nothing. Maybe, Taiho said. But I have to try. Vorn raised his blade. Then try. He moved fast. Faster than anything Taiho had ever seen. One moment, Vorn was standing still. The next moment, he was flying through the air, his blade cutting down toward Taiho's head. The blue light left trails in the air, like a painter drawing lines of death. Any normal person would have died. Any normal person would not have even seen the attack coming. But Taiho was not a normal person. He was a human. And humans were strange creatures. Humans came from a planet called Earth. It was a small planet, with one sun and one moon. It was not special in any way. There were billions of planets in the galaxy that were bigger, richer, more beautiful. But Earth had one thing that no other planet had: violence. For thousands of years, humans had fought each other. They fought with sticks and stones. They fought with swords and spears. They fought with guns and bombs. They fought in forests and deserts and cities and oceans. They fought for land. They fought for gold. They fought for ideas. They fought for nothing at all. This constant fighting had done something to humans. It had changed them, made them faster, made them stronger, made them able to react to danger in ways that other species could not understand. Deep in every human brain, there was a part that was always watching, always waiting, always ready for violence. Taiho did not think about dodging. He did not plan his movement. His body simply moved, guided by thousands of years of evolution. He stepped to the side, just a little, just enough. The plasma blade passed by his face so close that he could feel the heat on his skin. But it did not touch him. Vorn's eyes went wide. For the first time, there was surprise in those black depths. He had missed. He never missed, but Taiho was not done. As Vorn's blade passed by, Taiho moved forward. He moved into Vorn's space, getting close, too close for the long blade to be useful. And then he did something that no one expected. He hit Vorn's wrist with the spoon. It was not a hard hit. It was not a powerful hit, but it was precise. The edge of the spoon struck a spot on Vorn's wrist where the armor did not cover. It struck the exact point where nerves and tendons came together. It struck with perfect accuracy. Vorn hissed in pain. His hand spasmed. His fingers opened, and the plasma blade fell from his grip. It hit the floor with a clatter and slid away, the blue light fading as it left his hand. For a moment, no one moved. Vorn stared at his empty hand. Yuna stared at Taiho. Bolo stared at everyone. 3 seconds. The whole thing had taken 3 seconds. Taiho stepped back. He was still holding his spoon. He was still smiling that friendly smile. "Like I said," he told Vorn, "I do not want to fight you. But if you make me fight, I will fight to win." Vorn looked at the spoon. He looked at his empty hand. He looked at his blade on the floor. And for the first time in his long career as an assassin, he did not know what to do next. How? He whispered, "How did you do that?" Taiho shrugged. "I am human," he said. "We are very good at fighting with whatever we have." Behind him, Yuna took a sip of his beer. "Actually," she said, "he is pretty good at fighting with anything. You should see what he can do with a fork." The orbital station floated in the darkness of space like a metal island. It was old. It was dirty. It was the kind of place where criminals came to hide and honest people came to disappear. The station had no name that anyone remembered. People just called it the Rock because it looked like someone had carved rooms and hallways into a giant asteroid, which was exactly what had happened 200 years ago. Inside the Rock, there was a cantina. It sat on the 3rd level, near the docking bays where ships came and went at all hours. The cantina was called The Last Drop, and it served drinks to every species in the known galaxy. The owner was a fat alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His name was Bolo, and he had owned this place for 30 years. He had seen everything. He thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. On this particular night, the cantina was busy. Miners sat at one table, drinking and complaining about their jobs. Smugglers sat at another, whispering about their next illegal delivery. A group of soldiers from some forgotten war played cards in the corner. The air smelled like smoke and alcohol, and the sweat of a dozen different species dotted the bar. 2 humans sat on tall stools. This was unusual. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. They had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, and most of them stayed close to their home system. To see 2 of them here, on a station full of criminals, was strange. The first human was a woman. Her name was Yuna. She was 28 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes that noticed everything. She wore simple clothes, a brown jacket, dark pants, and boots that had seen better days. In front of her was a bowl of soup. She ate slowly, enjoying each spoonful. The second human was a man. His name was Taiho. He was 32 years old, with a friendly face and a body that was strong but not too big. He wore a gray shirt and old jeans. In his hand was a glass of beer. He was on his 3rd glass and feeling very relaxed. They were partners. Not in romance, but in business. They traveled the galaxy together, taking jobs that no one else wanted. Sometimes they delivered packages. Sometimes they found missing people. Sometimes they stole things that needed to be stolen. They were not heroes. They were not villains. They were just 2 humans trying to survive in a very big and very dangerous galaxy. "This soup is actually good," Yuna said. She sounded surprised. Taeho laughed. "You always say that. And then you get sick. That was 1 time. It was 4 times. Yuna ignored him and took another spoonful. The soup was some kind of alien recipe with vegetables she could not name. But it was warm and tasty, and after 3 days of eating nothing but protein bars on their ship, it felt like a feast. Taeho drank his beer and looked around the cantina. He liked places like this. They were full of interesting people and interesting stories. He watched a group of aliens argue about something in a language he did not understand. He watched a robot serve drinks to a table of creatures that looked like walking plants. He watched and he relaxed and he felt happy. Then the door opened. The cantina did not have a normal door. It had a big metal gate that slid open with a loud sound. When it opened this time, everyone in the room turned to look. And when they saw who was standing there, they stopped talking. The music that was playing from an old speaker seemed to get quieter. Even the air felt different, like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees. A creature stood in the doorway. He was tall, at least 7 feet. His skin was gray and covered with small scales, like a snake. He had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that looked almost human, except for the eyes. His eyes were completely black, with no white part at all. They looked like holes in his face, like windows into empty space. He wore black armor that covered his chest and shoulders. On his back was a long weapon that looked like a sword made of light. On his belt were smaller weapons, knives, guns, things that Taiho did not recognize. Everything about this creature said one thing: danger. Bolo, the owner, dropped the glass he was cleaning. It shattered on the floor, but he did not move to pick it up. His 4 hands were shaking. Vorn, someone whispered. The name moved through the cantina like a disease. People repeated it to each other, their voices full of fear. Vorn. Vor. V-O-R-N. Ho looked at Yuna. Who is Vorn? Yuna had stopped eating. Her spoon was frozen halfway to her mouth. Her face had gone pale. He is an assassin, she said quietly. The most famous assassin in the galaxy. They say he has killed 17 different species. They say he has never failed a job. They say he once killed an entire ship full of soldiers by himself. That sounds bad, Taiho said. It is very bad. Vorn walked into the cantina. His footsteps were heavy and slow. Each step made a sound like thunder. The people at the tables near the door moved away. They pushed their chairs back. Some of them stood up and left through a side door. Nobody wanted to be near this creature. Vorn stopped in the middle of the room. His black eyes moved slowly, looking at each face. He was searching for someone. His head turned left, then right, then stopped. He was looking at Yuna. Taiho felt his stomach drop. Please tell me he's not looking at you. He is looking at me, Yuna said. Why? Remember that job we did last month? The one where we stole the data chip from the Kaleri Corporation. Yes, that data chip had information about illegal weapons. Very illegal weapons. The kind that can destroy entire planets, I remember. The Kaleri Corporation is very angry. They want that chip back. And they want me dead. Yuna put down her spoon. They hired Vorn to kill me. Vorn started walking toward them. His hand moved to the weapon on his back. He pulled it out slowly. It was a plasma blade sword made of pure energy. The blade glowed bright blue, and it made a humming sound like an angry insect. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. The remaining people in the cantina ran for the exits. Tables were knocked over. Drinks spilled on the floor. In seconds, the room was almost empty. Only Bola remained behind the bar, too scared to move. And Yuna and Taiho remained on their stools, too stubborn to run. Vorn stopped 10 feet away from them. Up close, he was even more frightening. His gray skin had scars on it, dozens of scars from dozens of fights. His black eyes showed no emotion at all. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cold, like a machine. Yuna of Earth, he said, you have been marked for death. The Kaleri Corporation has paid me to end your life. Do you have any final words? Yuna looked at her soup. She looked at Vorn. She looked at Taiho. Actually, she said, I was really enjoying that soup. Vorn raised his plasma blade. The blue light reflected off the walls and ceiling. This was it. This was the end. Then Taiho picked up his beer, handed it to Yuna, and stood up from his stool. Hold my beer, he said, and he reached for his spoon.